Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special edition of the MrWarrenHayes Show. We just sat around and watched New Japan Pro Wrestling Summer Struggle 2020, Summer Struggle in Jingu. It just concluded not that long ago. So right now, we are recording our post-show live right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. And when I say we, I'm not just talking about myself, not just me. It's not like I'm suddenly talking about myself in the third person plural. No. When I say we, I'm talking about myself and my good pal, my chum, my British brother from another British mother. I don't know. Mags is with us today. Mags, who does, 63 podcasts. I think this is where we're at right now, Magsy.
Listen, Mags has no issue in talking in the third person, and Mags definitely does not have 63 podcasts. I think I'm involved with maybe 4, maybe 5. I definitely have 3. 3. We'll go with 3.
I definitely has 3. Like, you know, he lost count, just like, you know, like the number of children I have. I don't know how much kids I have anymore. But it's good to have Matt. We're going to be talking about New Japan Summer Struggle, but just in case someone doesn't listen to one of your oodles of podcasts, Mags, why don't you take a second here to let people know, like, what the hell do you do?
Yeah. Take a breath, and well, my first podcast is Why We Watch. That was my baby. It's where I speak to wrestling fans and content creators about why they enjoy watching people in their underwear pretending to fart. Then I have a podcast that I do with my son. It's about UFC. That's about real farting, none of this scripted nonsense. Mm-hmm. And then I have a third podcast with my podcasting wife, Paul Toller, called Badlands, where we discuss the Mount Rushmores of wrestling. We have a different guest every week and a different topic, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. We have a giggle doing that. Then the other ones I'm involved with one called Talk at the Table, where every fortnight me and a couple of people get together and just have a moan about wrestling, kind of get off that stuff off our chest. And I've just started being involved in a fifth podcast, so it is actually 5, called Radio Techers, where me and Tana from Headlock Talk, we're going to be discussing football, and I mean proper football, not hand egg, actual and ball.
You mean soccer?
No, I mean football, sir.
I think you mean soccer.
I mean football.
Okay, because it's a bit of a controversy on the WarrenHayes Discord, which you guys can join if you want. It's a good place. It's a fun time. The link to the Discord is in the description. Come and join us. That's always a good time. We always like to have some talk. There's some live watching over there. But Mags, you're a busy guy. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it a great deal. Just like I appreciate the super chats which are coming in right now. And if you feel like it, I'll read your question or comment live right here on the air. Sengir Vampire, aka Tom, who hangs out in the Discord quite a bit, says thoroughly enjoyed the show. Big shout out to the Discord for the fun chat. Indeed. Thank you for dropping by, and thank you for the super chat, Tom. And then we have Robert Sterling, who says, do you think Master Wato feels a little blue after his loss? Thank you very much for the super chat, Robert. Oh. But yeah, hey, well, look, let's get to it then. And we'll cover this. We'll talk about it. And I want to say hello to everyone who's here live. Let me just take a second. Mags, you're completely throwing me off here with your hat. I wasn't expecting you to be wearing a hat today. I'm completely off my game. I want to say hello to Robert Sterling and Tom Sengir Vampire. Thank you guys for being here this morning. Tim Traver is here as well. Good to see you, Tim. Good friend of the show. Reese Thomas as well. And Dynasty 215. Good to see you as well. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's early here in Canada on the Eastern Seaboard. I'm not exactly on the Eastern Seaboard. Oh, look, okay. First time that New Japan has been in Jingu Stadium in 21 years. It was an outside show. those aerial shots were pretty cool, Mags. I didn't know what you thought about the setup, but that was nice.
Yeah, it looked like we're getting to some normality again in wrestling. I really enjoyed the fact that they had a crowd there. I felt sorry for the guys and gals up in the nosebleeds. They were miles away from the ring,
right? Like on on the outfield, completely.
Yeah.
You kind of hope that they got to that there was some screens set up for them, because I had the exact same thought. I mean, it was cool, right? I mean, it's a good way to pack in as many people as possible. Pretty sure New Japan got a good deal on the venue rental. You know, I'm pretty sure they got a pretty good deal. I mean, they probably made I wouldn't say a substantial amount of money, but they probably made some money off of it.
Yeah,
but
it's just good that they're back. It's good that they're back and his fans back, and we're getting to some normality.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we need.
And it's interesting that you pointed out, because we've all seen it on Twitter over the past couple of days, right? There's been a lot of talk about, you know, the Thunderdome and WWE, you know, guiding their audience. And then Tony Khan, before Dynamite this week, came out and said, hey everyone, could you not swear on the air tonight? That'd be great. And then some people took offense to that. I was like, what are you doing? Everyone's telling wrestling fans what to do. Now in Japan these days, they're telling the fans, don't shout, don't boo. And everyone's being super respectful. They're doing it right. Otherwise, they'd just get kicked out. I don't know, man. I feel we focus on some silly shit sometimes as wrestling fans, whereas, you know, it's for me. A promoter going out to ask people not to swear, I've heard that before on indie promotions. It's not a big deal. And the Thunderdome stuff, it's not a big deal for me either. It's actually very much in WWE's playbook. I don't know. I don't know if you have thoughts or we should move on. But
Are you trying to say that the wrestling community wants to complain about something, Warren? I find that absurd. No, and yet, I don't believe you.
And yet, just realized my notifications box wasn't working, but we got a super chat from our friend Tim Traver. Thank you, Tim. He says, good morning, Warren. Didn't want to miss the show. Well, I appreciate you waking up this early to just watch me, watch my face, my stupid face. But, you know, Mags's hat is the main attraction. It's the main event this morning for sure.
This hat is a special hat as well. Because it's got speakers there. So it's a Bluetooth hat as well.
So you walk around and there's music coming out of your head?
No, this bit here, you put that over your ear, and and it plays music like headphones.
Oh, okay. So it's not like a speaker, because I was like,
no,
Jesus,
like
man,
you're
the worst person to commute with on the train or whatever.
Yeah. Listening to One Direction.
We know what kind of music you're into, Mags. All right, let's get back on track here. I lost my notes. But for some reasons my notes aren't open anymore, but I'll get them. I know what the first match was. The first match was Kanemaru defeating Master Wato. Kanemaru early on grounds Wato and leg drop guillotines him over the barricade on the outside, then starts face washing him in the ring, but Wato fights back with a corkscrew plancha to the floor. Diving, European uppercut as well. Kanemaru misses a moonsault and needs some strikes. Then there's a ref bump that's followed by a whiffed Hurricane Rana by Kanemaru. There's he goes for the Satori surprise. Actually, it's more than this. The Satori surprise. He wants to crack the bottle across Wato's head. But Wato kicks the bottle away. He tries to drop Kanemaru like a face buster. That was a bit of a botch there. He tries to do like a face buster, but it ends up with Kanemaru it ends up like Kanemaru does a seated senton kind of thing. It was a little weird. Kanemaru gets the roll up for the win. We wouldn't be done with surprises tonight. I mean, I had written off Kanemaru. I was like, they're gonna keep pushing Wato for us. Wato loses the blue master of blueness, and like our pal Robert Sterling said at first, I do believe he's a little blue after his loss. I really, I honestly do.
Puns.
I like Wato very ironically. But give me some thoughts on the match.
Yeah, I found Master Wato to be an enigma. The guy went away for 3 years to Mexico. He's come back and he's so talented in the ring. You can really see he's got that lucha libre influence.
Mm-hmm.
But he's regressed in terms of, first of all, he looks younger than he did when he went, which I don't know how he's managed that. That's
It's the blueness.
amazing.
It's either that or with spending so much time in bamboo forests. Maybe that'll do it for you at the same time.
The healing properties
Exactly.
of bamboo. But I just feel that he's not confident at all in this gimmick. He just doesn't seem to be embracing it. And he kind of has to lean on the New Japan dads more than the actual young lions. It's really, really weird. But in ring, he botched a couple of times in this match, but he's got some real skills. But Kanemaru has been quite a dark horse in this kind of pandemic era. He's really buffed up. The guy he looks swole, really, really swole. And I think the split with Desperado as a tag team has done both guys the world of wonders. They can really kind of show more character. But it was a decent opening match. Yeah, it was good. I was quite shocked that they didn't kind of lean into Wato winning, picking up some more wins. But yeah, Kanemaru is the veteran, I suppose. So it kind of did make sense in that factor.
Listen, you touched on a couple of things here. You're absolutely right with the Kanemaru stuff. With the pandemic, they've been switching things around, right? Like putting Yujiro Takahashi, the Tokyo Pimp, in programs with Okada, and that's something in and about itself. And the split with Despi, look, El Desperado, I think he's great, and I'm super stoked to see what they're going to do with him with the Best of Super Juniors, if they do a Best of Super Juniors, right? But I'm hoping they do more than World Tag League, quite honestly, at this stage. But if they do end up doing that, I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with them. So, like, they've been leaning into some different guys, and Kanemaru would be one that I would like to see a little more of, a lot more than watching Jado try to wrestle these days. You know what I mean? That's a bit painful. And with all due respect, he's just in pain. His body is his body is riddled. He's stiff. He can't do it anymore. It's just that simple. So that would be really interesting. As far as Wato goes, well, that's a guy that I think is going to benefit a lot from the Best of Super Juniors tournament. I agree his gimmick is, I like him very ironically because nothing can, like, he does look uncomfortable with the gimmick. There's too much blue about him. When he does his pose, I cannot but not giggle every time. I love him out of love. Not because of what he does, or I don't think he's cool. But I do like it. But I think he's definitely going to benefit a lot from a Best of Super Juniors showing.
It reminds me of like when you get a new puppy and it's a bit dopey and it's forever like kind of running into the walls and it's got one ear flopped over and one ear sticks up straight. It just reminds me of them. You can't help but love him, but he's an idiot.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. I look at him like I look like a 3-month-old puppy.
Yeah.
My God. Toru Yano is the king of pro wrestling.
This was brilliant. I absolutely loved it. And I'm not calling this the KOPW. This is the kapow for me because that was brilliant. I thought that was amazing. The whole match was solid gold. I loved it.
Now, there's a lot of stuff that I never thought I'd say in 2020, right? Toru Yano is the king of pro wrestling, is part of that. But I love it. I love it because Yano's my spirit animal. I adore him. But I thought this was going to be something for Sanada, right? But let me talk about the match real quickly. It started off. We should have seen it from the get-go, right? Sanada and Despy go after over Yano, go after Yano straight off the gate. Okada comes to defend him, but then Yano goes after Okada early on, so there was something there. There's some shenanigans after that happened with our boy Yano as well, and he teases a dive, but El Desperado prevents that. Could you imagine? I mean, the only thing that probably could have topped King of Pro Wrestling Yano is Lucha Yano, right? That would have been. Could you imagine? That would be
Tope con Hero Yano would have been absolutely fire.
Okada and Sanada double drop kick. Hit some double drop kicks. Yano keeps Okada from pinning Sanada, and Okada's like, "What the hell, man?" And they trade blows. There's an inside cradle by Yano, but Okada kicks out. Yano gets Paradise locked, and he spends quite a bit of time in the Paradise lock, right until Sanada hits a drop kick on Okada, who tumbles onto. Okada hits a drop kick on Sanada, who tumbles onto Yano to get him out of there. El Desperado gets the Pinche Loco in, but it's avoided actually by Okada. But Desperado rakes the eyes, but that doesn't prevent Despy from eating an Okada dropkick. Okada then locks Desperado in the Cobra Clutch. He forces a ref bump, which allows Yano to low blow Okada and roll him up for the win. And after the match, Yano was like, "I'm sorry, boss. I'm sorry." And factions in New Japan don't work the same as stables. It's not the same thing. Okada's probably going to be fine with it, and they're all going to be patting each other on the back. They'll be okay. But here's before I send it to you, I mean, if Yoshihashi is going to get a title in 2020, you goddamn right that Toru Yano is the king of pro wrestling.
Yeah. I mean, we should have realized from the get-go when Yano come out and he was terrified of the smoke plumes. That signified we were getting a cracking match, and it didn't fail to disappoint. I was impressed with Desperado being able to hang with those with the big guys. I think he's been an outstanding in this kind of like newfangled New Japan. But who would have thought that the best wrestler in the world would be the person eating the pin in this match?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's mental. That is absolutely mental. Going from being world champion to facing the Tokyo Pimp to then eating a Yano pin to lose his own tournament. This was his tournament.
It was his tournament,
idea.
Exactly. And I feel he's been very generous with himself this year. It's like I'm giving back, I guess. I mean, this was fine. It was a short match, but it was fine. It everything worked, everything connected wonderfully. And when you think about it, like I had called my predictions for this show, by the way. Thank you, New Japan. When you think about it, because I had given Sanada, I had given this to Sanada, where I was like, King of Pro Wrestling, Sanada, Jesus, give the guy something, right? Throw him a bone, for fuck's sake. But when you think about it, when you think that, King of Pro Wrestling is essentially going to be stipulation matches for moving forward, right? Makes sense that Yano is the guy, right? It makes sense.
In hindsight, absolutely, because he'll be the king of wacky fun stipulation match, and I think the New Japan have took a lot of grief for this tournament, kind of from the hardcores. They feel it's incredibly westernized, but I think this is fun. It adds a lot of comedy to a New Japan show. So yeah, I'm all about this Kapow tournament.
Look, if it ends up giving Yano something to do, card after card, I am okay with this. But I myself, I don't consider myself a New Japan purist, right? I don't. But
No.
I did find it weird that we were going into a 4-way match. This is something that really never happens in singles competition in New Japan. It really doesn't happen all that often. And you know, the stipulations, heavily reliant on stipulations, like this could be good, this could suck. And the match that the card that they had 2-3 nights ago, where they had the qualifiers, you could, Sho versus Sanada was a good match. Yano versus Bushi was silly fun. That was okay. But Desperado versus Satoshi
Kojima.
and the main event, let's be honest, the 1-on-3, it sucked. It was not good.
That was a card must pause style match.
Yeah. So I'm, even though, like I said, that I don't consider myself a purist, I'm still very weary about stipulations in New Japan, because I think it does break with what the guys are used to do. Maybe not as used to doing multi-man and weird stips, but you know, I liked the stipulation of 2 count pinfalls. I thought that was creative. That was fun, you know. As long as it doesn't get too wacky, too out there, I'll be okay. But then again, it's Yano. It'll soften the blow on a lot of stuff, because everyone will be like, this is just going to be a hoot. Instead of people taking it really, really seriously, if suddenly it's Sanada who's the guy and always has to pick these very serious stipulations because he's a very serious boy, you know.
Yeah.
The people's main event had Minoru Suzuki reclaim the never openweight title, defeating Shingo Takagi in a slapperty dapper. We got what we got what we expected here. Suzuki straight off the bat wants to go, and I love this. I love how Suzuki, he treats his matches seriously. You know, how he's just like, come on, man. He gets to the ring, no time for ring announcers. He just starts screwing with Shingo. I love that stuff. They go to the floor early, hits his armbar, his over the ropes armbar, very early on as well. They trade some strikes until Shingo suplexes Minoru. Suzuki hits a PK. Then they go completely strong style on each other. Suzuki starts laying in some crazy forearms at the same time, almost knocks Shingo off his feet. There's some attempts for the Gotch style early on that Shingo avoids. Then Shingo runs the ropes for a sliding D, but Suzuki dodges that, gets a sleeper on Shingo, and then another Gotch is avoided, reversed into a DVD. That was all cool stuff. Our boy Shingo hits hits the Made in Japan. Suzuki kicks out of that pin attempt. Last of the Dragon is avoided, and Suzuki decides that headbutts to the back of the head is a good way to do things. My God, man. Look, they just strike the shit out of each other, wallop each other with forearms, and finally Minoru Suzuki hits the Gotch style to win. I was shocked, and I'll tell you why I was shocked before I get your thoughts on the match. I was shocked because I think the pandemic era in New Japan was anchored by 2 people. Hiromu Takahashi, for his personality, for his, being Hiromu, right? Mm-hmm. And Shingo, because every match that he's had while holding this belt has been absolute gold. And we can even go back pre-pandemic. He's been part of the glue of New Japan, and as far as ring work goes, everything he's done was fantastic this year, right up to here. So I was surprised that they yanked the belt away from him. I thought he was going to get a good extended run with it. I'm not bothered by it. Trust me, Minoru Suzuki never champ. Sure, it's his second time he has the title. I'm okay with it. But look, we're just talking about the results here. The match was great.
The match, you explained it perfectly when you said it was a slapper dapper. It was everything that we dared to hope for from a match between Shingo and Suzuki. It was just glorious, beating the ever-living piss out of each other. Yeah, I loved it's one of those matches where you don't want to blink because you know you're going to miss someone getting a chop to the chest that makes them go ground beef. Yeah, I was actually quite shocked that they put the title on Suzuki, and it's been nearly 4 years since he was champion.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the oldest champion back then. And now he's almost 4 years on. He's the oldest champion again. But I've got a couple of questions for you, Wazza. Would you say that Shingo Takagi has had a really good year?
Yes.
Okay. To follow that, would you say he's an elite level wrestler?
Yes.
Okay. So if you were to say rank wrestlers maybe in a list perhaps of the top maybe 500, what number would you be looking at for someone like Shingo?
Oh, I'd put him in a top 50. I'd put him top 50.
He was 57.
57. The
guy that's carried New Japan through, like you said, with alongside his faction mate Takahashi. It's only number 57. I would have had him top 20 at least. I think he's had an outstanding year.
Understanding how the PWI rankings work, I'm not surprised. I myself, because I saw where you were going. That's why I said top 50. I saw what you were doing. But probably like on the WarrenHayes list, I would have probably put him up much higher. But yes, he did rule the Neverweight title. Let's put it like that. But the Neverweight title isn't a top tier prestige title. It's a mid card belt, right? And he's been fighting on the mid card, so he hasn't been fighting the Okadas, the Ibushis, the Tana Hoshis. He's been with the shows. Who did he defend with? Okay, I'm slipping my mind, but it doesn't matter. Like, he's been having great matches. He's been a workhorse, but that's it. The workhorses don't rank high on PWI. All that high.
Well, they should.
What's that?
They should, because he's been top 20 for me. But yeah, I'm hoping that this leads to Shingo kind of moving up the card.
Yes.
He's really elevated that Never title, coming from an era when I got into New Japan Wrestling. It was kind of the Goto and Ishii era. Whenever those two were involved in the Never Championship, it was kind of like that was the standard. And I think Shingo took that belt and raised it above even them. So it'd be interesting to see where it goes with Suzuki as champion. But I really would like to see Shingo Takagi take that next step and move into the bigger picture.
Well, I mean, it makes sense if you want to add some unpredictability. Take the belt off of him before we go into the G1, right? Because if you're like, because to me, people who go into the G1 who already have titles, I'm like, you're not gonna win. They're just not gonna.
It's very telegraphic.
Yeah. So to me, this adds that level of unpredictability, and I mean, I don't think Shingo is going to win, but if New Japan has taught me anything this year so far, is fuck anything I think about New Japan in their booking. That's what it's taught me. Again tonight, I'm like, what's the point? Except for New Japan Cup USA, my bracketology mags was perfect. I predicted, I scored 100% on that one.
Wow.
Did not miss a single match.
Weird flex.
Moving on. I want to say hello to Danny Thomas who joined us in the chat. How you doing, Danny? So the title changes wouldn't end there because Taiji Ishimori defeated Hiromu Takahashi. And don't get me wrong, I dig myself some Bone Soldier. I think Ishimori. I feel like 2019 was a year that they being New Japan could have benefited from using Ishimori better than just putting him in a tag team with El Fantasma, which is fine. Which was fine, but especially with Hiromu out, But look, I'm complaining for complaining's sake at this point. He won the title, and the story of this match here was Hiromu's legitimate shoulder injury. They brought that into play here. Early on, they try to hit some big moves on each other. Hiromu goes to the floor, and Ishimori hits a moonsault off of the turnbuckles. He 450s Hiromu's arm, goes for the yes lock early on, but Hiromu reaches the ropes. This was very, very early in the match. There's a sunset bomb that's avoided by Ishimori, but Hiromu is thrust shoulder first into the post. Ishimori works the arm for a good part of the match, and Hiromu was on the defensive for a good part of it. Shotgun dropkick off the apron to the floor. Ishimori flies into the barricade. Hiromu and Ishimori have a cool exchange that ends with a poison rana on Hiromu. There's a dynamite plunger as well by Takahashi. Ishimori Germans Hiromu really high on the neck. Because, of course, right? But Hiromu hits a German of his own. Hiromu tries to go for the time bomb too, but Ishimori reverses it into a wheelbarrow lung buster, which was really cool. Takahashi does hit the time bomb. Ishimori kicks out of it because it's the time bomb too. Now that finishes people off. Ishimori hits a bloody cross and locks in another yes lock, which Hiromu doesn't escape from. Magsy. Mm-hmm. Ishimori is your new IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah, and what a shock it was. But yeah, great. What a great match. These two have outstanding in-ring chemistry. The thing that I think I enjoyed the most of this match, though, was the clinic of selling that Hiromu put on with that shoulder.
Sure.
Really showing that he was weakened, and Taiji, obviously being the brutal animal that he is, really kind of focused on that shoulder. But what a good victory for Ishimori, and yeah, interesting that they hot shot in that junior title quite a bit recently. I think that was his second defense of the title, and it's going back to Ishimori, who I think has been underutilized in that division a lot. I think he makes a great champion, and it'll be cool to see Hiromu chase to get back to the top of that division, especially after the year that he's had, where he's been basically battling against heavyweights. It's cool to see him back in the division that he belongs in, and yeah, I can't wait to see a rematch.
Well, the rematch the rematch will be good. You know what I like about Ishimori is that he's much more of a strength-based junior than a lot of the other guys, right? Because he's a strong boy.
He's a barrel.
Yeah, he really is. So I like I like how it mixes stuff up a bit, like between, and as much as I like watching Ryu Lee now, Dragon Lee and Hiromu go at it, there's another type of mix that happens here when Ishimori's involved, just because, like you said, he's a barrel. I think that's a really good way to put it. I'm excited to see what they do with this. Do you think this might be another situation where, well, I mean, it's one of two things. Tell me what you think. It's either one of two things. Do you think that they would put Hiromu in the G1, or are they just taking the title off of him to really let the shoulder rest so that when they do a Best of Super Juniors, well, you have your top junior babyface actually competing in the tournament as opposed to waiting for a guy to come up. What do you think?
That's an interesting question. Knowing Hiromu, I would not doubt that he wanted to do both. That he wanted to be in the G1 and then straight into the Best of Super Juniors. I would prefer him to rest up. He obviously coming back off a pretty much almost life-threatening injury, and he has not shown any signs of kind of slowing down.
No.
He's probably more dangerous with his neck now than he was before that. So maybe a little bit of rest time is in order. But then you've also got to consider that Sho and Yo, Roppongi 3K, have literally just dropped those junior titles. So perhaps we may see Hiromu and Bushi team back up and pick those belts up. So yeah, there's a lot of variables in there. But the more Hiromu on our screens, the better, I suppose.
Mags, let's be honest. Let's be completely honest with each other. Sho and Yo vacated the IWGP Junior titles. Good thing, because I think keep Sho needs to do his own thing, and that's a good thing. If you're gonna vacate the titles at this point, just merge them with the IWGP Heavyweight titles. We don't need double division titles. They barely have a tag team division for the heavyweights.
Mm-hmm.
This has been a recurring theme for me for years, right? I mean, wouldn't this just be a good time to be like, not just vacate them, let's just put them away?
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think there's enough tag teams in the heavyweight division. There's certainly not enough tag teams in the juniors. I mean, I would retire the titles.
The only really established heavyweight tag team that's still around, like established, that's been there for a while, is the Gorillas, and they're stuck in North America. They can't even fight for the titles, right? And Sonata and Evil are done.
Yeah. And all the champions since then have all been kind of thrown together. Like Finn Juice weren't really a tag team. Golden Aces have become a tag team, but wasn't at the beginning. Dangerous Techers are obviously the best tag team in the world today by a long way.
Oh my God! What?
Come off it. Lord Tachi is the very, very best.
Let's talk about those two sons of bitches then, because they retained the IWGP heavyweight titles, tag team titles, defeating the Golden Aces, Hiromu Takahashi and Kota Ibushi. Now, when is the breaking point when we are going to stop saying Kota Ibushi is jacked? Because it seems to me that every 2-3 months we're like, he's bigger, and at some point he's just going to explode, like just literally turn into a right? I don't know when this guy. I don't know what this guy's limit is.
It looks like a caricature drawing of a Kota Ibushi. He's just absolutely huge. If you took the body shape of Taiji Ishimori and put it on someone like Tachi, that's what it looks like. He's just ginormous. He's got pecs on top of his pecs.
But he looks so like he doesn't. It doesn't look exaggerated. He's not like Brian Cage. He's. I don't understand. I don't understand that man's genetics. I do not get it. I really don't. Anyway, what I liked here, and this is what I like about New Japan Pro Wrestling, Mags. We got a really good example here tonight. This was not the first time that the Golden Aces faced the Dangerous Trekkers. So every time that they faced off against each other, everyone learns a little something, right? And we got that tonight. Ibushi and Tana Hoshi, despite it all, were ready. They were ready for the typical Suzuki-gun nonsense before the bell when the match started. They were ready for it. They were ready for everything. They countered it. Leaping elbow, standing moonsault, double leaping elbows by the aces. But of course, eventually Suzuki-gun get in control, and they spend a lot of time outside the ring doing heel stuff. Back inside the ring, they work over Tana Hoshi. But Tanahashi finally crossbodies Taiji to get the hot tag to Ibushi, who slams Taiji. Pescados, Zack Sabre Jr. on the outside, running shooting star press on Taiji. Ibushi and Taiji then share some big kicks with each other, which has kind of become a staple of this feud. The mid kick battle between the two, which is cool. Taiji, of course, tears off his pants. I wish he put as much effort in his lip syncing as he did to tearing his pants off.
I don't think he even knows the words to his own entrance music.
Because I love it, because Kevin Kelly on commentary tonight was like, oh, Lord Taichi's going to sing. And they do an extreme close-up of Taiji, and he's got the microphone, and you literally see that his lips are not moving. He's just like, God, I hate that guy.
I love him. He's the best.
Tanahashi goes nuts with some dragon screw leg whips on Zack Sabre Jr. Does a cloverleaf as well. Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. actually both eat dragon screw leg whips from in double team form, a callback to what the Trekkers did to Tanahashi a few weeks ago. So that was a cool callback, a little revenge there for Tanahashi. Ibushi tries to set up the Kamigoye, but he sees Taichi coming in with the Iron Claw, kicks it out of his hand. The babyfaces hit double team lifting elbow drops. Zack Sabre Jr. rolls out of the way of a high fly flow. And the Zack Mephisto, I love that name. The Zack Mephisto gets the win for the Dangerous Trekkers. It's time to move on now. We're good with this feud. Your thoughts, Mags?
Yeah, who's next? We've already spoke about how shallow the tag divisions are. Who's next on the horizon for the Trekkers? It's concerning. I love the Zack Mephisto. I don't think Zack actually adds anything to that move apart from just doing the splits.
Just pushing.
For me, the whole kind of thing that I picked up from this feud is the sowing those little seeds of dissension between the Golden Aces all the way through this Summer Struggle tour. You've seen Kota kind of whenever there's any pausing, Kota always wants to one-up Tanahashi. There's a lot of kind of trying to better each other. And I think even with the end when Tanahashi was down and the young lions were coming to help him, Kota wasn't really that bothered about what had happened to him. He was more bothered about they'd lost the match. If you remember, this is the same Kota Ibushi who in the Double Gold Dash tournament, we got the inklings of evil Kota. It'll be an interesting feud for that to come out of this Golden Aces tag team. We obviously know that they've had matches before, and that's when Tanahashi took Ibushi under his wing almost. Is it time for the student to attack the master?
Why not?
Yes.
We could be there. I mean, it's a good idea to take the belts off of them heading into the G1 regardless. You know, I think it's still a very, very good idea because it will add that unpredictability about it. Because, I mean, in and about itself, Ibushi versus Tanahashi, with the way that they've built it, that's a Wrestle Kingdom match right there, you know?
Absolutely. Evil Ibushi. I mean, we've always known Ibushi to be, again, kind of like a childlike almost heel, where you love him because he's just the perfect human being and such a nice person. I would love to see a heel Ibushi. I want to see how he copes with just being an absolute dick.
The thing is that if he becomes a heel, no one is going to help him when he gets lost in airports. They'll be like, stay lost, fuck off.
That's very true. That's very true.
But it is interesting to think like who's next for the guys, right? Because everything is so thin right now, unless I'm trying to think like in chaos, most of the guys are all they have the 6-man neverweight titles, right? But then again,
Ishii and Goto have been teaming up quite a lot, so they'd make a decent kind of just a short feud until we can finally get God back, I suppose. But outside that, there's not really a lot. Maybe Shingo and Sonata could team up for a little while.
Mm-hmm. Is that what you want from Sonata, though, and Shingo?
No, I don't. Or Shingo. Yeah, I don't want that from either of them.
No.
They both need to be elevated. But interesting to see where New Japan go. We've got a lot of shows coming up. So let's just enjoy this amazing victory for Dangerous Techers, and the fact that Lord Taichi is part of the best tag team in the world today. Who are the Young Bucks? Exactly.
Okie dokie. This is a good match, though. I liked it. I thought it was good. They really enjoy working with each other, all four of these guys.
Yeah,
and who would have thought that I would? Honestly, I didn't expect to enjoy this feud as much as I did. Despite the fact that the first time that Tanahashi and Ibushi saw each other after COVID, they were poking at each other's bellies. I really didn't expect to enjoy this program as much as I did.
Yeah, I've been ironically a fan of Taichi basically because the internet community hates him, but that irony has grown into unirony because I think now he's absolutely amazing. I love his character. I love his wrestling style. He's just he's the perfect wrestler.
No. Perennial lower mid-carder Taichi in his 40s suddenly having his career resurgence. Jesus Christ. But look, it's been weirder. Tetsuya Naito defeated Evil to become IWGP champ again. Heavyweight IC title back around his waist. I like that Evil got a darkened arena entrance. I like that. I thought that was cool. And look, I'm going to tell you, overall, I really like this show, but I didn't care for the main event. It got under my skin good and proper. And I get, okay. I'm trying to say too many things at once. I get it. It's Bullet Club. Bullet Club's going to do Bullet Club things, right? Mm-hmm. But I think that in this match here, they went a little overboard. I was annoyed. I wasn't annoyed when, the match starts and Evil pelts Naito across the head with the belt. Okay, that's fine. But taking off the turnbuckles, we got that. We got the chair, baseball swing, and we got removed turnbuckles within the first 5 minutes of the match. Mags. I'm like, Jesus Christ, pace yourselves, boys. There was, that went really, really too quickly. And then all of the ref bumps and the ref hooks, they happened. I'm convinced every 2 minutes there was one. It really, really got to me at some point. I'm like, this is dumb. This is really, honestly, I was looking at this and saying, you'd never see Jay White do this. You'd never, and as dastardly as Jay White is, he wouldn't go back to that so frequently. And that really bothered me. Now, I understand at the same time, because I'm not stupid, Mags. I understand that one of the reasons they did it so often was to make the run-in by the LIJ boys so much more meaningful, right? And to give them a reason to interfere, because LIJ, like Chris Charlton said during the match, LIJ is, there's no leader. Like, everyone has their own, they're loyal to each other, but there's no like leadership. There's no rank and file. If the guys ran out, it's because they wanted to run out, right? It's not because they felt like they needed to protect Naito. It's because they wanted to do it. And I think it was because the injustices were just so numerous. At some point, they were like, look, we just can't sit by and let this happen anymore. But honestly, this doesn't happen very often. But it sucked the wind out of the main event for me. And if I'm going to bitch about WWE giving us fuck finishes over and over again and ridiculous bookings, I have to be consistent here and do the same thing here. It took a lot away from me, Mags.
Yeah,
that's my rant.
The pacing, you was right. The pacing was well off. They went through the whole turnbuckle and chairs thing really, really quickly. But then the in-ring slowed down to almost a snail's pace for a good 10 minutes, which it kind of like you were looking around bored more than anything. And then going to the exposed turnbuckle spot, I think 4, maybe 5 times they used that almost to the point of ridicule. But the result was the right result.
Sure.
I've got to say that it's it follows kind of a New Japan historical booking where a first-time champion gets a relatively short run and loses the title back to the person who they took it off to be pushed back into the scene later on. That made sense. The fact that LIJ had enough of the Bullet Club shenanigans made sense. Yeah, it's just these two. It just didn't seem like they had the chemistry for this match, and not for a 30-minute long match. That's for damn sure.
And I was terrified, by the way, because this card flew by. Like it was a breeze to watch. So when we got to, like, it was 5:30-ish Eastern time, when or a little before that, I think, something to that effect, when the Trekkers won or something like. And I was like, my God, are they really going to go 60-minute Broadway here with Evil and Naito? And I was like, because I could see New Japan do that kind of stuff. Thankfully, they didn't. But yeah, it brings an end to Evil's first reign, like you said, and I agree. Historically, first reign is a little shorter. A lot of people didn't like Evil winning the IWGP championships to begin with. I didn't mind, because it's like I said back then, I much preferred to be surprised by my pro wrestling than be like, oh, it's this guy again, kind of thing. So it threw me for a loop, and I was like, okay, cool. But what are your feelings, just looking back? Should Evil should the reign have been a little longer, or were we good? Are we good with Evil as main eventer?
I was shocked when it happened in the first place. But I like I like the fact that we're shocked that it does get boring when you can predict wrestling all the time, especially when you get a 100% record in the New Japan US Cup. Barry Horowitz style there. But I like the fact that the New Japan aren't afraid to test the waters with a new champion. Did it work? 100%? Probably not. There's definitely kinks there in Evil's stardom as someone at the top of a card. But it was something new. It was something fresh in this era. What we're in, it was something to talk about, and it did get the wrestling community talking. So it did kind of do what it needed to do. But I think we're back to a bit of parity now with arguably the most popular wrestler in Japan back as champion. And the good thing is we got the roll call. We didn't have anyone coming out and kind of taking the wind out of Naito's sails. He finally got to celebrate as a champion. Yeah. It's a pity he didn't get that at Wrestle Kingdom. He got that in a quarter-filled stadium in a town that they hadn't visited for 21 years.
But he got fireworks though.
That was glorious. That was absolutely. I absolutely love the fact that he got fireworks. Again, kind of like the tag titles. It'll be interesting to see what's next.
Yeah.
For both these guys, whether Evil will go into kind of like a power struggle with Bullet Club. I'd like to see that. I think, and then see who rises up as Naito's next challenger. I'd like it to be somebody not related to LRJ, because I can't take any more kind of LRJ friction. I think we need to solidify for a little bit at least. But yeah, it's going to be fun to see what happens to both these two guys.
Naito is at I believe his 6th run as IC champion, and it's his 3rd as a heavyweight champion. So good for him. I agree. I think I think the Evil experiment ran its course. Because I agree with you. I completely agree. I think I really think that Evil winning the titles at the New Japan Cup was a way for people to get excited about New Japan being back. I think it was, hey, we're back, and look, we're shaking things up. And they didn't have a choice. They had to shake things up because their Gaijin roster is not there. There's a whole bunch of people who are just completely unavailable, so they did have to mix things up. There was a power vacuum at the top of Bullet Club because Kenta and Jay White are stuck in the United States, so they had to do something. They had to do something to reinvigorate, to just create a big bad for this arc of the season, right?
Yeah, and I think that speaks volumes to the booking prowess of Gedo. The fact that Corona set the world on fire, and he was still able to write out compelling storylines for these guys, knowing that he had half of the roster available. And yeah, he got the world interested in Evil as a world champion, whether you agreed with it or you didn't agree with it. So I can't fault him for that. Trusting Gedo.
I thought overall this was a good card. I think there's a lot of good reasons. If you haven't watched it, I think there's more than enough in the mid card to go check that out. I think Tagaki versus Suzuki was great. The tag team match was great as well. The King of Pro Wrestling match. It's a like eating what do you get? A Jaffa cake, right? It's just
I hate
delicious and just easy to consume, and you're like, what a wonderful taste in my mouth. Or a Kit Kat, whatever you want.
A Kit Kat's better. A Jaffa Cake, stale cake, a disc of plastic orange, and then the worst dark chocolate ever. Well, this show was not like a Jaffa Cake.
Thank you.
This show was like a custard cream.
Thank you for ruining all my chances to be sponsored by Jaffa Cakes. Fuck you, Mags. But honestly, there's a lot of good in this show, and it really was a breeze to watch. Unfortunately, for me, the main event is a low light of the show. Yeah. But final thoughts on the show, Mags?
I can't do anything but echo what you said. I thought that this show, it was really well paced. We had great comedy matches. We had hard-hitting action with Suzuki, as he's now known, taking on Shingo. The turn in the punch bowl was the main event, but it was just a fun 2 and a bit hours show, and you can't grumble at that.
Mags, it was a pleasure to have you today to come and talk about New Japan. It's always exciting when we get the big shows, and it's fun to have you around, man. It had been a while, too. Let the people know where they can find you out there in the world of the internet.
Yeah, it's been far too long since we got to shoot the shit on wrestling. We should do it way more.
True.
You can follow me on Twitter at Big Paws on a Pup. I'm a retired podcaster. No, you can find me on the Twitters at DJ Kirby. I have way too many podcasts to mention. I think I've got a problem, but you find links on my Twitter page for all those. Yeah, come and check me out. It would be an honor and a pleasure.
I actually offered to buy the No Particular Angle Twitter account. You know what I offered him?
Here we go. Go on.
2 corn dogs. He said he'd think about it.
I'm surprised he didn't bite your hand off.
Folks, thank you so much. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at MrWarrenHayes. And right here, hey, if this is the first time you watch, consider a subscription if you enjoyed what you saw here. Give the video a like, a thumbs up. That's very much appreciated. And if you're listening to this on your podcast application, the audio version, thank you. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for coming here live this morning, joining us, Mags and I, and we'll see you next time.